What happens during a Bitcoin halving? Does your Bitcoin break into half? Or does it magically disappear? It's none of it. Let's try and understand what Bitcoin halving event is, why it's important, and should you do something about it. If you're new to my channel, consider subscribing and hitting that like button. It will be of great help for me. Before we dive in, you need to understand a few things about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a blockchain. It also has its own cryptocurrency called the Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a fixed supply of 21 million Bitcoins. It is hard-coded into the code and it can never be changed. Every year, a fair share of Bitcoin enters into the circulation. This happens because of proof of work, a consensus mechanism of Bitcoin. Let me explain. Mining is a process in Bitcoin where a bunch of people work towards solving a cryptographic problem, and when they solve it, they add a bunch of transactions as a block into the blockchain of Bitcoin and also get a reward for doing so. This reward is given in Bitcoin itself. Here's the other thing. Every 210,000 blocks, the reward that's given to the miners for solving these cryptographic problems is cut into half. That is, if they were receiving about 50 Bitcoins, the reward for solving a block would be cut into half. That is, they would only be rewarded 25 Bitcoins. Every block in a Bitcoin blockchain is added at an interval of approximately 10 minutes. The 210,000 blocks would be approximately 4 years. If you think that powerful computers might join the mining pool and could solve it quickly, that's not the case. Bitcoin has a difficulty adjustment that happens every 2 weeks, where the algorithm is like, oh, you have so much hashing power, let me raise the difficulty so that you take a lot of time to solve the same problem. This way, the 10-minute time interval is maintained and every block is added only at the interval of approximately 10 minutes. That would take approximately 4 years for 210,000 blocks to be added into the Bitcoin blockchain. The Bitcoin blockchain was started in January 2009. And until November 2012, they were awarded 50 Bitcoins for every block that they added. This changed after the first halving event, and from then on, until 2016, the miners were awarded 25 Bitcoins for every block that they solved. So you see where it's going. The reward was cut into half. After the second halving event, until 2020, all of the miners were awarded 12.5 Bitcoins. And from 2020 until April 2024, they are being awarded 6.25 Bitcoins. With the Bitcoin event happening, the reward is going to be even cut further, and for every block that the miners add, they'll be rewarded 3.125 Bitcoins. That's still slashed into half. This goes on until the year 2140, when the last Bitcoin is going to be mined. Every 4 years, this reward is going to be halved. That, my friends, is called Bitcoin halving. So why does it happen? In case of a fiat currency, when the government thinks that there needs to be specific economic goals to be achieved, then more money is printed. When they see that there is a lot of excess money in circulation, they just print less or pull in that currency from circulation. This goes on year to year. Although this method is arguably not working accurately, as a consumer, it just means that the value of the asset is worth less and less than it was before. So you see what Bitcoin does here. A very basic principle is that when there is less of something and the demand stays the same, then the value of that particular asset increases. Experts even say that Bitcoin is on track to become even a deflationary asset. This means not only that the supply is limited to 21 million, a lot of this supply could also end up in dead wallets. The Bitcoins could be sent to wallets that are no longer accessible. Hence, it's deemed as unusable and there are only a few left. As of now, there's approximately 19.6 million bitcoins that's already mined, which means there's only approximately 1.3 million bitcoins left to be mined for the next century. So, what happens in 2140 when the last bitcoin is mined and there's no bitcoin left? Here's where it gets interesting. Unlike traditional assets like gold, when it's mined and comes into circulation, it can keep on trading. But in case of blockchain like Bitcoin, miners are essential part of the system to keep the blockchain running. They are the ones who verify and validate the transactions and add it to the blockchain. The idea is that over time, Bitcoin's value heavily increases. If you have ever transacted on blockchain, you would realize that there's always a sender fee that's involved with every transaction that you make. This transaction fee goes directly to the miner. So the miner who adds the transaction to the block earns a block reward and also earn the transaction fees of that block from the sender. The idea is over time, Bitcoin blockchain would become very widespread and popular that there'll be so many transactions that these transaction fees will amount highly for the miners and would be enough to keep them running their mining rig. Besides, it's a fairly long time. Even in the last couple of decades, we have seen a wide range of changes. Big players have started coming in with Bitcoin ETFs. So these big players and corporations will likely have an incentive to keep the Bitcoin blockchain running. Do you have to do anything about the Bitcoin halving event? Not necessarily. As a Bitcoin holder, you don't need to take any specific action for it, nor is the amount that's with you going to disappear. It's just a lot to do with the miner side. During this time, miners typically calculate if they can afford to keep their mining rigs running, if it is profitable for them, and those who discontinue leave the blockchain and the rest of the miners benefit from it. Coming to the important question, does Bitcoin halving event increase the price of Bitcoin? Historically speaking, after every Bitcoin halving event, Bitcoin has always reached its all-time high a few weeks after the event. However, not much changes were observed during or before the event. This time, however, it's been quite different. A month before the halving event, Bitcoin reached its all-time high and surpassed it too. This could be because of various factors, including Bitcoin ETFs, so many other factors which we can't account for. Just because something happened in the past does not mean it will happen in the future too. If anything, Bitcoin has always proved us to expect the unexpected. What do you think of this Bitcoin event? Do you think there'll be an increase in price? What is the price of Bitcoin today when you're watching this video? Comment down below and I'd love to know that. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel.